Well, good day, everyone. I wanted to spend a little bit of time talking about this word in the Strong's Hebrew 1366. I think it's pronounced Gib'ul. Anyway, it's used in the Old Testament, rather, and the word is for border, border, boundary, territory, area, barrier. So it's 144 times. Look at that, used in the NASB for border. So when it comes to the land of Israel, what does God say about that land? He speaks about the fact that that land he gave himself to the descendants of Abraham, and Jacob too, I think. And that in Joel chapter 3, after Joel 1 and Joel 2 have been fulfilled, which really haven't happened yet, it says the Lord's going to bring these folks down, these guys that he's going to enter into judgment. He says, I will gather all the nations and bring them down to the valley of Jehoshaphat, and I will enter into judgment with them there on behalf of my people, my heritage, Israel, because they have scattered them among the nations and divided up my land. Okay, so we know that he doesn't want his land divided. So if we go to Hosea 5, now I've spoken about this before, but for people that are new to my channel, Hosea is a prophet mainly to the northern kingdom of Israel, which in modern times is represented by the West, or the Christians, and a country called Ephraim, a nation called Ephraim, who is the United States. If you don't know that, go back to some of my previous videos where I talk about the destruction of USA and Ephraim, and I can show you, if you watch those videos, you can see my justification for that. So when we get to Hosea 5, we are, in my opinion, we are right where Hosea 5 is, because the house of the king is being warned about revolters that have gone deep into slaughter. Those revolters are the folks that want to pull off false flag attacks on the U.S. soil, and actually in the West, in Spain, in England, all those false flag attacks. Those are the revolters. Those are the one world guys who want to take over the world and start their Luciferian 3.5-year or 7-year rule of the world by Satan himself, once he's kicked out of the third heaven. So what we get here is we get this, you see that God's complaining in verse 3 about Ephraim and Israel, and that Ephraim has just played the whore and Israel is defiled, and this is the United States, and this, in my opinion, this is either the U.S. led or the folks that actually in the West that are led, the NATO nations. But he gets down here, and this word Gib'ul is used, this boundary line, boundary. And look what he talks about here. He says the princes of Judah, that would be modern day Israel, it would be Benjamin Netanyahu and his buddies, they have become like those who move a Gib'ul. That's what it means. Boundary, landmark, Hosea 5:10. And when this boundary gets moved, all hell breaks loose. Upon them I will pour out my wrath like water. Ephraim is oppressed, the USA is oppressed, crushed in judgment. So the point here is that if you look in the news, there was some movement in this whole peace plan, this peace agreement that Trump himself is facilitating, has taken it upon himself to want to bring peace to the Middle East. And the way they're going to do this is they're going to divide up the land, the border, and they're going to make it look like the Palestinians have a chunk and the Israelis have a chunk, and everybody's going to be happy and go lucky. But the problem is they forgot the God of their salvation. They forgot this part. That is God's land himself, and if anybody's going to take it upon themselves to divide it up, there's going to be hell to pay. So what came out yesterday was that it says that Trump and his team are putting the finishing touches on the draft Mideast peace plan, which is a two-state solution. That's what we're hearing. And there's this guy right here. This guy to me looks pretty darn scary. I don't know what it is about this guy, but it's like I've seen him in the movies in the 30s or something. There was some movie, I think, Arsenic and Old Lace. There was a guy in there that looked like him. If you look it up, you can see it. But it talks about how Trump refers to this ultimate deal where we're going to finally figure out a way. He's going to be the arbitrator that's going to sit atop the Palestinians and the Israelis. My dogs are barking, guys. Sorry about that. And he's going to finally come up with a way to bring peace to the Middle East. So the point here is that one of the articles, you guys can read this yourself, one of the articles talked about the fact that he thinks he'll have a deal here, or at least a preliminary draft to actually show everybody and have folks sign. I've heard as late as the early part of the new year or before Christmas. So, with all that, I want to jump to a few prophetic words and just see what it says in these prophetic words about this peace agreement. So, Gwendolyn Ricks, she had a prophetic word back in April of 2015, and look what it said. She has the 3 days of darkness coinciding with an earthquake and the peace accord to divide my land. She says once the peace accord is signed, there will be a brief reprieve of quiet. It will then be followed by a massive shaking all across the earth. Once the shaking occurs, I want all my children to make plans to gather in their homes. I want them to be careful to think of the special needs of each and every person that is gathering with them also. Okay, so when we hear this gathering in our homes, this is reminiscent of the cosmic event that Bond's blog speaks of. So it seems like this peace agreement, whatever, to divide the land, is going to precede the 3 days of darkness. So there's another prophetic word that makes a reference to it. This is from Urgent Words from the Lord, I think, or from Wendy. Yeah, from Wendy Lee. And her word says this. It says Yeshua will be with each one of you, guiding you as his path is getting to be the narrowest. That would be going through the narrow door. That would probably be going to our first training session for the 144,000. It will be before I will send for his great rescue. The great rescue is the initial departure that's going to take, I would say, the first round of folks, the first of the first fruits. So, sorry about that, guys. So it looks like there are going to be folks that are going to be trained going through the narrow door prior to the great rescue, which is, like I said, the first of the first fruits who get taken. And they're rescued from, in my opinion, the 3 days of darkness. There's a group that leaves before that. Then it says, events are about to be coming forth as the peace agreement to divide my land. My holy land will be signed, and I will utter my many voices of thunder and mighty waters when this occurs. And woe, woe, woe to those who sign that agreement. So I just wanted to pass on the fact that there appears to be some movement on all of this. And you can see some interesting things here. Look what Trump has done. Trump has sent his son-in-law over to Saudi Arabia, and look what it says. The Saudis told Abbas. So you got to look at the politics of that area. Saudi Arabia, which is south of all this, told Abbas to accept Trump's peace plan or resign. See, we buy Saudi Arabia's oil, so it's in their best interest to work with us. But anyway, with that said, you guys just keep track of this. You know, I don't know how this is going to work out. No one knows the day of the hour, and surely I thought that over this weekend maybe something would break loose, but it didn't. So here we are. We are never going to figure this out on our own, at least in my opinion we're not. I think what's going to happen in the end is that there's going to be a day where 50 messengers across this country and the world are going to be given all the information, and then it'll be disseminated, and then all of a sudden we'll know, and then it'll just start happening. But for us to just sit here and just guesstimate all this, I just don't see it happening. We're just not that. He hasn't given us that cognitive ability at this point to figure this out on our own, and what I mean by is the timing. So, but you can look at what's going on here, and part of me thinks that this might happen, that this might get signed in secret ahead of time, and then there'll be some ceremony afterwards. But I've heard that the words say that the minute the ink hits the paper, whether it's public or not public, and I feel like it won't be public at first, I think it's going to be behind the scenes, is that's when it's all going to happen. And then, like in Gwendolyn's word, there's this reprieve. This reprieve could be they sign it, there's the reprieve of a few days, they go to announce it, peace and safety, like 1 Thessalonians 5, and then the destruction comes. So with that, guys, I'll let you go. Have a good day, and God bless you.